as many of you already know, my husband and I have finally achieved a positive pregnancy test after undergoing 30 rounds of IVF in total. We've been to 4 different clinics around the world, each with their own regimes and recommendations about medications and supplements. But this latest regime I'm on, which would definitely have contributed to the positive pregnancy test we just received, seems to be the best one. So I wanted to share with you exactly what I'm on. Okay, let's start with the supplements. There are too many for me to remember, so every night I fill this glass with the supplements I'll be taking the next day. And I know that by the end of each day, this glass needs to be empty. So it's kind of like my makeshift pillbox. First, folic acid. You can't just rely on a multivitamin, even for something like folic acid, because it may not contain enough. I'm taking Elevit, which is considered the gold standard for prenatal multivitamin, and most people would take just 1 tablet per day. But the OLGA Fertility Clinic in St. Petersburg, which is the clinic we're going to now, has me taking 2 tablets per day based on the amount of folic acid per tablet. So this is the amount you need to go on. You need to make sure you're getting at least 1,000 micrograms of folic acid per day. So, and that's to help prevent neural tube defects, which we definitely want to avoid. So let's pop 2 of these into my glass. There we go. Okay, so next is fish oil, omega-3. It's well established the benefits of fish oil, both for mum and baby in pregnancy. And again, rather than going with the brand, you basically want to go with the amount. So at the moment I'm taking Blackmore's, but what's more important is the fact that you need 1,000 milligrams of omega-3 every day. That's the optimal amount you want. That's for fetal, brain and eye health. So when it comes to this brand, that equals 3 of these little capsules a day. So let's pop 3 into my glass that I'll be taking. There we go. So the next one is L-arginine. So this one is, I was interested actually to find out, it's really good for placental and embryonic growth, and the optimal amount is 6,000 milligrams per day. Now, my husband was actually also taking L-arginine for sperm health, because it's been shown to improve sperm as well. And I actually ran out of mine, so at the moment I'm taking his. It says men's, it's going to make no difference whatsoever. What's important is the active ingredient in the tablet. So I'm at the moment taking this natural brand, and so with this brand, each tablet here's got the 3,000 milligrams, but we want 6,000 milligrams, so it equates to 2 tablets per day. So let's take 2 tablets out. Oops. 1, 2, there we go. Okay, and the next one we've got on the list, coenzyme Q10. This one's also well established to have benefits in pregnancy, reduces inflammation and oxidative stress. The optimal amount is 600 milligrams per day. So that's the amount you really, I can't stress this enough, you need to go on the amount, not the brand. So at the moment I'm taking where's my coenzyme? Here it is. At the moment this is a Blackmore's one. With this one, to get this amount, it's 2 tablets per day. So 2 of these per day. So I'll pop 2 into my glass. So it's starting to fill up. Sometimes I just feel that these rattle around a bit during the day, but you've got to space them out a little bit. Okay, vitamin D. This one's really important as well. So it does depend on how much you are getting in your multivitamin, but look, it's okay if you're taking a bit more than the sort of optimal amount of vitamin D, as long as you're not totally overdoing it. But the optimal amount is 1,000 international units of vitamin D per day. So at the moment I am taking this brand, Ostalin Vitamin D. So this one does have that 1,000 international units in 1 tablet. So that's easy, it's just 1 for the day. So we'll pop that one into the glass. Now, next one over here. So vitamin E. So this there aren't many clinical studies on vitamin E in pregnancy, so this was actually a supplement I was mainly taking in the lead up to the transfer. So if you want to be preparing your body optimally in the lead up to that very important transfer, vitamin E is actually really good. It's again for antioxidant support, and the recommended amount is 600 milligrams per day. So I'm taking a Blackmore's vitamin E. So you can see here, this is 1,000 international units. So I'll just take, I tap them to get them out easier. I'll just take one, I've been taking one per day. So I'm not taking them anymore because it's now after transfer, but for the sake of showing you what this glass looks like, if you're still in the lead up to transfer, we'll pop one in there. So there's a vitamin D. I mean, I don't think it's going to hurt if you're taking vitamin E during pregnancy. There just aren't many studies really in pregnancy for vitamin E. Okay, magnesium. This one's another really important one, and this one's really important after transfer. So it can also help prevent the risk of chronic hypertension and premature labour. Magnesium also relaxes your muscles, so your muscles are less likely to sort of spasm and cramp. 150 milligrams per day of of magnesium. So with this one, with this brand, it's a Swiss brand actually that I'm taking. It's just one per day, and this is a mother of a tablet to swallow. If you've got big tablets that are just going to get stuck in your throat or stuck in your chest as you're trying to swallow it, my best advice is to take it with a mouthful of chewed food. So have some food, chew it up really well, pop this in at the end and swallow it down with the food. I find it goes down a lot easier than trying to get it down with liquid. So we'll pop that in. So there's the supplements that I'll be taking for the day. So you can see it's a bit of a handful. And it doesn't matter what order you take these in, as long as you do take them all by the end of the day. I do usually space them out, like I'll have the multivitamins usually in the morning with my breakfast, and then throughout the day, like lunch, snack, cup of tea, whatever, I'll usually pop a couple more of these supplements in. So yeah, like I said, the order doesn't matter. Or milk, a glass of milk with some of your supplements, that goes down really well. Don't have too many at once, especially not on an empty stomach, because they can actually make you feel really nauseous. Okay, now for the medications that you need every day. This requires a second glass to fill. So these glasses really are my reminders. I fill them the night before, every night, and then they sit there on the bench so I can see them the next day, and I know that I have to go through every single thing that's in those glasses. Both glasses have to be empty by the end of the day. So, estrogen. Wow, is this important, obviously. To build up your lining, you usually start, if you're doing a transfer cycle, you would then start taking the estrogen, probably to build up your lining. It does depend on everyone, but a good couple of weeks before the transfer date. So I'm on 6 milligrams of Progenova, which is 3 tablets per day. So what I do is I then take these out. There's just one there, and then I'll literally have to make sure that I then know. See, it's actually, what makes this tricky is if I don't have these glasses, I forget. Like at the beginning, because we've done so many rounds of IVF, at the start I would just think, okay, I'm on 3 estrogen tablets per day, that's fine. I'll just have this box sitting there, and then I'd take one in the morning, and then I'd take one at lunchtime, but there'd be some afternoons where I was thinking, have I taken the one at lunchtime? And then basically it's not worth the risk. So if you do just get them prepared the night before, then you know definitely that you've got your allocated amount. So what I do is I just cut them into singles. So there's 3 in there in this glass, 3 estrogen tablets, and that's the estrogen for the day there. But so in a lot of IVF cycles that I've done, I've just been on the estrogen tablets. But the OLGA Fertility Clinic in St. Petersburg, which I mentioned that's the clinic we're going through now, they are fantastic with their supportive meds. They're the best regime I've ever had, honestly, with any cycle. So what I'm on is I'm also on transdermal estrogen patches. And I genuinely think this has made all the difference, because with previous cycles, I've just been on estrogen tablets. I have sometimes had problems building up that lining. No problems at all when you combine patches and the estrogen tablet. So it's actually fantastic. So you get these estrogen patches. I'm on 2 patches every 3 days, which that in itself is also hard to remember. So what I do is I write it down in my diary and I map it weeks in advance. Like every 3 days I put it into my diary which day the estrogen patches are due to be put on. Otherwise, again, it's really easy to forget. So I've actually only got 1 patch left at the moment because we've ordered some more from the pharmacy. But what I would normally do is put, if I was due to put estrogen patches on the next day, I would put 2 here in the glass. At the moment I've only got 1. And another thing the nurse in Russia said, and look, I think it makes sense. I mean, technically you can put an estrogen patch anywhere on your body, really transdermally, and it's going to go through your skin. But the nurse in Russia suggested putting them over your ovaries, and to me that just makes a lot of sense because that's where the ovaries are secreting the estrogen from. And so to put these patches over your ovaries, whether or not it technically makes a difference, I'm not sure, but look, I can't fault their regime, so I was happy with that. So what she suggested is if you're on 2 patches a day, 2 patches every 3 days, to give your skin a break, put 2 patches on one side for the 3 days, then the next 3 days put the other 2 patches on the other side. At the moment I've actually got 1 patch on each side, only because I did put 1 patch on and it sort of started to peel off a little bit after a day, so we actually replaced that patch. But anyway, so I do what she recommends. I do put them around where your ovary would be. So you can see I've got a patch there. I've also got 1 on the other side, and you do need to watch out. They can actually irritate your skin a little bit. That's why she does say give your skin a break and move positions. And they can get itchy too. Like last night mine was getting itchy because it's basically like having sticky tape on your skin, if you can imagine. And so you've just got to be careful, just don't scratch it. And if you're finding that it's getting creased and a little bit of water is getting in them when you have a shower, another hint is to buy some Opsite from the pharmacy and cover the patch on top with Opsite, which is waterproof dressing as well. So that's going to prevent any water from getting in. And when you take the patch off, there's often a little bit of patch adhesive left on your skin, which can also be annoying. But the way to get that off is to just put some oil or lotion onto that adhesive and just give it a gentle rub, and it should come off like that. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is, this is another thing that was new to me when we went to the OLGA Fertility Clinic in Russia. No one had ever put me on this before, and I genuinely think it's a good idea. So we bought these from Russia. They're called Galaxy. The equivalent here in Australia is Buscopan. Now this is post-transfer. Buscopan I'm on 2 a day. So what I'll do is I'll add these to my glass. So here's 1 that I've already cut. We'll pop that in there. But then I'll get another one. This is basically to prevent cramping. It's a muscle relaxant basically. So you take Buscopan to relax your digestive system and sort of prevent that sort of cramping, and it can help your smooth muscles, including your uterus, relax. And so I'm actually really glad I'm on this. And again, this is something new that I didn't know about before. I'm sure this whole regime has definitely contributed to this positive pregnancy test, and so I would recommend this. So 2 Buscopans a day, morning and night, just keeps your uterus nice and relaxed, keeps your bowels and digestive system and all of that just nice and relaxed, so you're not having any of that sort of cramping. And in fact, what they even suggest is if you feel any pain, like women will say, you know, after transfer or when the embryo is implanting, women can feel a bit crampy. They actually suggest that pretty much at the first sign of any sort of cramping pain, take another Buscopan. So you really do want this area to be nice and relaxed. Okay, now the next super important medication is progesterone. So when you're going for a transfer cycle, you don't start the progesterone till about 5 days before the actual transfer day. But I can't stress how important progesterone is. And again, I can't stress how fantastic the OLGA Fertility Clinic is with their supportive meds. So I've had some cycles here in Australia where I remember one particular one that really haunts me. We had a very good quality embryo that was transferred. I started bleeding 5 days later. Now, when there's spotting or bleeding, you immediately go to the computer and you Google spotting after transfer, is it normal and all that. And very dismayingly, you'll get a lot of feedback coming back as, oh, a bit of spotting's okay, it could be implant spotting. You know what, I can't stress this enough, don't buy into that. Spotting actually generally is not a good sign. I can't stress this enough. So I started spotting, bleeding. It actually took us quite a lot of rounds, unfortunately, to work out that it was a progesterone issue with me. And basically, progesterone is so important to keep that lining, not only to keep your lining so you're not starting to shed it prematurely, but also progesterone makes your lining or your uterus super receptive for the embryo to be able to implant into it. So look, having enough progesterone is actually really vital, and so having all these supportive meds are fantastic. Now, in previous cycles, I've just been on progesterone pessaries. With this cycle, that's my French bulldog, excuse him. With this cycle, I'm on 2 intramuscular progesterone oil injections per day. So 1 in the morning, 1 at night, and I'll show you exactly how to do that shortly. And I'm also on 2 vaginal gel applicator or pessaries. It's hard to know exactly what to call them because they're actually not available in Australia, but I'll show you where I keep them in my pantry and I'll bring them out. So because you have to juggle so many medications, you really have to sort of earmark a place in your house where you're going to keep them. So in my apartment, they're in the pantry here in this corner. We actually had to pretty much clear a space for all our IVF meds. My dog is still barking, just ignore him. So I've got all the meds here. So these are the, I'll bring these over to the counter, but basically these are the progesterone applicators that I'm using twice a day. I've also got pessaries, but I'll talk about pessaries in a moment. And while we're here, I've also got another bag. It's a good idea to keep all this in bags. I've got another bag with needles, band-aids, alcohol swabs, and then I've got another bag for our Clexane injections. So I'll talk about those in a moment too. So Cranone vaginal progesterone applicators here versus pessaries. So these are pessaries, these are the Cranone applicators. What's in here is basically, well, without getting too graphic, it's basically an applicator that you put in your vagina, and it's got a sort of air bubble thing at the end. You press that, it ejects the foam into your vagina, obviously, and just absorbs. So this solution, it sort of reminds you of whipped cream or sort of shaving cream. It's light, it's airy, whereas the pessaries are kind of thick and gluggy, and they come out, and yeah, I'm really not convinced with pessaries. Pessaries is all I've ever been offered in Australia, whereas in Russia this is definitely the preferred option. Very unfortunately, Cranone is not on the PBS in Australia. So if you do buy Cranone in Australia, it's very expensive, even though I really believe it's by far superior, to be honest. So we got these from Russia. We have tried to get some more in Australia. At the moment there's a real shortage, so we're having difficulty even getting them in Australia, even though we are willing to pay the extra amount, because I believe these are so superior. So once I've run out of this stock here, I'll have no choice really but to go on the pessaries. And look, if you've got a progesterone issue and you're worried about these absorbing, like I said, look, if you can think about like hand lotions, if you use like an expensive, silky, thin sort of hand lotion, it'll sort of absorb into your skin instantly, whereas maybe a cheaper, gluggier, thicker, oilier one just doesn't really absorb well. That's how I feel about these. Absorbs well, doesn't absorb well. But if you're stuck with pessaries and you're having a problem with progesterone absorption, what's a good idea then is once you've inserted one of these in, perhaps lie down for an hour or so. Look, maybe even with your feet up, to just help this really sort of sink in and soak in, because otherwise you could end up yeah, just having them sort of expel out of you, it's absolutely horrible. Anyway, these are really good, so it's very unfortunate that they're not on the PBS in Australia. I do really think they're superior. So we'll pop 2 crinones into my medications glass, so that's there, and I'll know to take them tomorrow. Now, the next thing I always put in the glass is syringes, band-aids and alcohol swabs for the injections the next day. So I'll go through the whole process of how to do an intramuscular progesterone oil injection shortly, and they're stored in here, the progesterone oil injections that we have to get from a compounding pharmacy. So we're going through Your Solutions pharmacy in Brisbane. But the needles that they supply in this packet are short. They're too short, basically. I did another video on this titled 3 Things You Must Know About Self-Administering Progesterone Oil Injections. So go and have a look at that as well. But basically, you need a long enough needle. So what I do is I ignore the needles that come with these. These are pre-filled syringes, and you'll see them when later on this evening when it's time to do my progesterone oil injection. But to remind myself of, basically 3 injections a day, and to remind myself of all 3 injections, what I do into my glass is I then put, so these are the bigger needles. I put 2 of these needles into my glass. So pop both of those in there. And then I also have to take a Clexane injection that I'll talk about in a moment. So all up 3 needles. So to remind me about all 3 needles, I put 3 alcohol swabs into my medication glass. So, like I've said before, this glass needs to be empty at the end of the day. So, all 3 alcohol swabs are in there for the next day. And then I don't usually have any bleeding at all from the Clexane injections, but I do from the intramuscular progesterone injections. So I also put 2 band-aids into my glass. I know that's possibly getting a bit pedantic, but look, I like being organised. I like them all in here in my glass. So, and then like I said, if I have to put the estrogen patches on the next day, then this estrogen patch will also go into my glass. And there should be another one, but I've actually only got, like I said earlier, 1 left. So pretty much there it is. So both of these glasses need to be empty by the end of the day. It does seem a lot. It can feel quite overwhelming at times, but if you want to prepare your body for transfer and then post-transfer as well, keep up these supportive meds, this is what you're looking at. So these are my 2 glasses. Now I'll talk about, so I'll pop these. I find it, I may have mentioned this earlier, but I find it's really easy to just put all of these into these Ziploc bags because that kind of keeps them all in one place and keeps them a bit neater. So the last injection that I do, so this is only 1 per day, but this is Clexane. Now, this is another thing that I wasn't offered in Australia, and I've never been offered before until I went to the fertility clinic in St. Petersburg, but I can't speak highly enough of it. So Clexane is a blood thinner, so it's just going to thin your blood out just slightly. And this can be really important, basically. It can help prevent blood clots and also just help that process of that very important implantation process. So 1 Clexane injection per day. Now these don't have to be in any special condition in terms of, they don't have to be in the fridge, they don't have to be protected from light. These progesterone oil injections do have to be protected from light, which is why they're in this black bag. But they don't have to be refrigerated. So just keep these in the pantry or some sort of cool, dry place, not in the fridge. Keep them protected from light. These, I don't usually put these in the glass, but you could put 1 Clexane injection in the glass as well if you wanted to. I usually just keep them in the bag. I find that my 3rd alcohol swab is a reminder enough. But look, you could put your Clexane injection in the glass as well. So there you have it. That's pretty much the regime. And in a moment, it's almost time for my Clexane injection and my progesterone injection. So I'll get ready for those in a minute, and you'll see exactly how they're done. But I wanted to show you something very special first. So when you're taking all these supplements and all these medications, it's a really good idea to keep your eye on the prize. This is my Bible. I had this when my daughter was born, so she's 8 years old now, so there's probably newer editions than this out now, but I kept this and we tried for so long to get a sibling for her, and this would just sit on the shelf and I would just think to myself, I can't wait till I can be looking through this book again. So now I can be looking through this book. So basically at 5.5 weeks, which is what I am, your baby is already starting to take shape, and remarkable things are already happening. Very rudimentary shapes, so the organs are already starting. At the end of this week, its heart is already going to start beating. So basically it's a really good idea to have some sort of book or guide where you can really see in pictures what your developing baby is looking like. And so when you're taking supplements and doing your medications, you can really understand exactly what you're doing it for and exactly what's going on inside your uterus. Okay, it's evening time for my injections. So I like to do the Clexane first. So this is the alcohol swab. You just open the alcohol swab and then you swab the part of the skin that you're going to be injecting. So I like to swab a nice good big area. I'm going to be injecting here tonight. It's good to swap positions where, you know, like obviously don't inject in the same spot every time. Now this Clexane, I am not a fan of these injections though. The needle to me seems cheap and sort of, I don't know, like these do sting a little bit. I've got to be honest, they do. So you open the packet like this and then you take the needle out like that. And then what you have to do is, this can be a little bit tricky too, but you just basically have to use a bit of force. So you pull this grey cap off. So see, it sometimes gets a bit stuck. So there you go. And unlike other needles where you want to push it up a little bit to get rid of some air bubble, don't do this with the Clexane needles, otherwise you'll lose some of the liquid. So this is one of the only exceptions where you don't. So just hold it like this. Then this is where I'm going to pinch my skin, where I've done the alcohol swabbing, and I'm just going to put that needle in there. I find that the harder I pinch that skin at the beginning, the easier it is to just get that needle in there. And then once the needle's in there, it's good to then let go. So you don't want to be pinching your skin too much. And to make this even worse, you can probably see I'm a little bit nervous. I really don't like doing this. Then you want to be injecting it fairly slow. So there's no rush with it. It's better to go a little bit slower than too fast. Once the needle's in your skin, it's not hurting you anymore, so it's fine just to push it in and just take a few deep breaths. It's not pleasant, but look, you just got to do it. There you go, it's in there. And then it's also good to just leave the needle in there for the count of maybe 5, just to make sure it's all in there. Then you take the needle out. There you go. And if there's any blood, there often isn't with the Clexane, but you can just give it another wipe. And then with these Clexane needles, to get that protective cover over the needle, you just then push it in really firm like this. So you pop it in, there you go. And then you dispose of this in a sharps container. So 1 down, 1 to go. So how to do a progesterone intramuscular injection. I like to be prepared, so I like to put a sheet of paper towel here. I already opened the band-aid up, so I'll open this from here. I'll pop that there. And then you don't want to expose this to the light too much. So basically what you want to do is you open up this bag and take one of these pre-filled syringes out. And then you make sure you seal this bag again, because this is sensitive to light, so that's why it's in this black bag. You want to protect it from light. So I usually put a bull clip on it as well, just for extra assurance. Okay, so to prepare this, you want your needle here. You open this, take the needle out. Get an alcohol swab ready as well. So I put this on my little pack. So this is like my little injection tray. Then you take this black cap off. So pop this off. I actually often take this tag off as well because it can be a bit distracting. Now you then screw this on to the pre-filled syringe, and then you want to warm up the progesterone oil. So we're going to do that now under warm running water. So we'll get this tap going. Okay, so this is warm water. You don't want it to be boiling hot, but you do want it to be fairly warm. If this oil, because this is oil based basically, if it's warm, it's going to slide into your muscle a lot easier, and importantly, it's going to slide out of the syringe easier too, because it's actually quite a thick solution. So if it's not warm, it can actually be hard to push out of the syringe. And believe me, when you've got this long needle in your buttock, the last thing you want to do is to be struggling to push that plunger down. So warming this really does help. So I usually warm it for about 20 to 30 seconds really. Make sure it's nice and warm. And this gives me time to take a few deep breaths, brace myself. This isn't something I look forward to, but look, my nurse in Russia said you've just got to be brutal about it. You've just got to do it. You've just got to do it. You know, you've just got to do it. Okay, so that should be nice and warm. So now we've got this. So very importantly, it's good to give this a dry then with some paper towel, because you don't want it slipping in your hands either. So the best way to do this, and the easiest way, look, I'm just going to keep my fingers here to keep it warm because it's warm now, is to do it with some guidance in a mirror. So we're going to go over to the mirror where we're going to do the injecting. Okay, I'm in position in front of the mirror now. So what we need to do is to take this cap off, and then you just press the fluid up a little bit so you get a little spot of fluid at the end, just to make sure, there we go, to make sure there's no air bubbles. And then you basically, what I do is I'll then swab my skin with the alcohol swab. Again, you want a big area, and then you just got to brace yourself. So here we go. I usually pinch another part of my body, and you just got to push it in. There we go. In she goes. And once that needle's in, you can just then press the plunger in, slowly but surely. With the progesterone oil, you don't want to press too quickly, otherwise you can get those hard knots at the surface of your skin. So I like to just take it easy. There we go, it's all in. Then you just pull that needle out. There we go. And then there could be, there we go, there's a bit of a spot of blood. So we just wipe that up with another alcohol swab. And then you can take a deep breath, a sigh of relief that that's done for another night. And then we pop a band-aid on. And then there's one more important step when it comes to these progesterone injections. Once you've put the, oops, this one's a bit of a pleater. And then you rub the spot where you injected. So you want to just give that a really good rub in, because that prevents the progesterone oil from pooling in the one place. So just, and also while you're doing the injecting, I failed to sort of say this, I should have said this before, you stand on the leg that you're not injecting into. So you put all your weight on the other leg, so that the buttock that you're injecting into is as relaxed as possible. And then you stay in this position for a little bit, give it a good rub. That will prevent the progesterone oil from pooling in the one place. So I've got to admit, my heart's racing a little bit. It always does at this, like it is hard, I'm not going to lie, it is hard. But look, you'll get used to it, and look, it's just one of those things, you just got to do it. And you know, there's sort of no way around it. And my attitude, or one thing that makes it easier for me, is, look, honestly, it's just something hard to do, you just do it. You know, there's no point procrastinating or standing around thinking about it. You just get down and do it.